Hi everybody, I'm Seow. I'm your fellow senior from IMU from ND110. So I can see some of the familiar names here from dietetic students, I guess. Today mainly I will actually do a little bit of like a storytelling, like just experience sharing from my career as a dietitian for the past 7 years when I graduated and until today. And of course, focusing a little bit on how I started my career, like working in the hospital. And after that, I changed my career to work in Naluri as a digital dietitian. Yeah. So let me just share with you guys, like, so this is back in 2014. I don't know whether you can spot where am I, but don't try to search me. Yeah, so this is back in 2014. I graduated from ND110. So that time we didn't have a nutrition course, we only have dietetics, so it's ND110. Yeah, so as fresh as like you guys now, very excited wanting to join a career as a dietitian. So it's like, that back in that time, I still remember I was from Johor. So I was like, before end of exam, I already search for jobs, hunting, and basically because I was like hesitating whether to go back to Johor or do I want to stay in KL, right, to continue working. So yeah, so in my job hunting journey, right, of course, getting a job as a dietitian, it's not easy, as like the job availability, it's not as many. And back then in 2014, it was even lesser. And I would say the visibility or like the recognition of dietitian is not many as well. Like people don't actually know what is a dietitian. And when you try to Google search like job street, whichever platform you can search, most people when they publish a job vacancy, they will put like nutritionist or dietitian or food scientist or whichever related to food, right? So I am like, I was like so confused and do not know. So how do I, where am I going to work? Is there really a job for me, right? And I was the third batch of IMU graduates, so it's like I only have two batches of senior ahead of me. So like most of them were like in clinical, and some of them in food service, a committee. So a very conventional way of working as a dietitian. So yeah, so very confusing. Cannot search what I want, and there's like multiple different places. And then I think eventually I think I went for a many interview, including those in whichever. I just want to understand what is the industry demand and what kind of people, what kind of company actually hire nutrition or dietetic related graduates, right? So yeah, there are some companies retail selling nutrition, sports nutrition products. There are some selling supplements. There are companies selling even like a water filter, and also there are some hospital, of course. But to enter hospital as a fresh graduate, it's very competitive. So and then it was very miserable. So it was that time, I was already start to feel miserable even before end of my final OSCE exam. So yeah, so then like you have this different definition of what dietitians do, right? So what your friend thinks you are like advocating healthy eating, and then what the society think that you are like a media person, trying to sell, like promote healthy eating habits. And then and of course what you think you should be doing actually is, of course, to educate the publics and the patients on what you know about nutrition knowledge to change health impacts, right? So with that, I was, actually when I searched all the jobs, and the first job that I got actually was very, such a how to say, the title given, was actually nutritionist. But it's inside a hospital. But it's inside a wellness department of the hospital, which is like more on the public health aspect of division of the hospital. And so yeah, So I was given like a title of nutritionist. I was trying to ask, what is the job scope, although I've graduated as a dietetics student, right? Yeah, so then I just accept the job, and then because I think this seems more, like it's something that I want rather compared to some other jobs that I went to. So yeah, I try, like to enter the first job, like. So yeah, so as I imagine in the wellness center, I will be educating patients, seeing patients. That's what I've been told, to actually educate patients and have consultations based on health screening reports, that patients have. And of course, clients most of them are quite, not very clinically ill clients. So yeah, so then that was what I imagined. And then of course, after that, I realized that it was like a very new department in the hospital where I have to actually develop a lot of, business plan at the beginning to actually come up with what are the programs that we are trying to promote to the clients. And then I have to went on to give a different educational, not really educational, but actually like a business development talks to corporate clients to actually promote services that we provide from the wellness center. At the same time, I have to wear multiple hats of like being, promoting certain packages. At the same time, I have to develop educational tools and leaflets and everything, to promote our service. And I also see the patients, see the clients. And then at the same time, of course I have to also do a bit of like ad hoc operation stuff, because our team wasn't very big. Yeah. So then after 3 months of my probation finish, that's the time when I requested to change my title to become a dietitian, because throughout the past 3 months, of course, I have proved that there is a difference between a dietitian and nutritionist, because we do have nutritionists in the company, and my boss can see the difference between nutritionists and dietitians, and that's why they gave me the title of a dietitian. So yeah, basically that's like the first year of my career, right? So trying different things, understanding how we start a business from scratch, basically, to promote a different wellness program. So then after a year, there was a chance that our hospital is expanding, and basically expanded to different multidisciplinary, different area of critical care. So they are actually hoping, opening a position of clinical dietitians in the hospital. So that's the time they open for interview. And then of course, I'm part of the hospital staff in a different department. Of course, I get chance to go for the interview. So yeah, so I went for the interview and happily lucky to actually got selected and transferred department to the clinical, to hospital to become a clinical dietitian. Yeah. So yeah, so that was me. Yeah, so don't ask me where I worked before. Yeah, so that's a private hospital in Klang Valley. So basically, I work as a clinical dietitian there since I think 2015. Yeah. So as a clinical dietitians, what we do, right? It's a very standard of seeing inpatients, outpatients, and do consultations, see ICU patients, ward patients, and yeah. So but that's not the only thing that I do. Every day to day, what my challenge was actually to think about my census and my revenue of the department, because back then I was alone, and then I was like doing everything to on my own and trying to figure out how do I get more help, how do I expand at my department actually so get my boss to hire more people for me, right? Yeah, so I need to do so many things. Yeah. So this is like a struggle of like, being not just a clinical dietitian, but also in terms of clinical admin and clinical operation. I have to join multiple different meetings together with other department heads, like the pharmacies, like the radio therapy department, like OT department, medical advisor. So different departments. So we will all sit down together. There is like a monthly review and everything to talk about how is your department's revenue, how is your department's performance, everything. So how do you actually expand your department? I think about next forecast, about next year's budget, everything. So these are the things, when I started to actually think about, so how do I actually make dietetics department, expand bigger and all this, right? So then here comes like a different request. Usually there's different requests from different department. So like a different health talks. So I went to thousands of different multiple health talks requested, free by the hospital initially, just to give talks, to educate the public or public health awareness. Then after that, then as a whole, right, as a hospital, we think about, why not we actually make this profitable and do a lot of corporate wellness program. So from there, we actually charge corporate companies, by giving health talks. Yeah, so that's the time when I start to actually help hospitals to generate more income, more profit. So that's the time when I can actually ask for, can you give me more, more dietitian? Yeah, so that's the time, because by seeing patients alone, of course, we see patients, we of course charge consultation fee, but from there we also have to think about, how do you get more salary, right? How do you extend income? So all this is about revenue. So think about all this. Then we launched different educational program, public health program. Of course, like a corporate nutrition workshop. So I've been to different corporate companies, teach them about different nutrition topics. They get to choose, they get to buy our program. So something like it can be a nutrition related, like for example, a diabetes focused program, can be a general weight management program. So there are many programs that we sell. Then of course, demo cooking workshop. I have to work with the kitchen staff, food service department, to prepare all the raw materials and the delivery of the food, everything to the company, to basically teach them on the spot, to do hands-on meal prep with them. So these are all the little multiple programs that I have to do on top of my day-to-day usual clinical work, that I see patients, that I of course have to actually attend to patients' needs. So yeah, and at the same time, in terms of clinicals, right, I also have to take care of the SOP. I have to write SOP. I have to write all the procedures to make sure that whenever people come for audits, I make sure that all the documents, everything is ready. So this is like the admin work of the clinical job itself. Yeah. So of course, in the hospital, like being like the very niche, like as the only dietitian at the beginning, you have to do everything, including whenever people wants to interview a dietitian in your hospital, you have to be there. No one else will help you. You are the only one. Basically, they will, in different modes, they will either do a voice record, ask you or your opinion, or they will do a Q&A essay for you to fill out your answers, your opinion. Then from there, they will write a newspaper or publish article, whatever. Then they will, of course, before they publish, they will also ask you to review before they publish, right? So yeah. Being a dietitian in a hospital, basically you have to do not just serving the patients, but also you have to think about the money, think about the department's profit, think about your visibility as a dietitian. So yeah, of course, media interview, not just newspaper. A lot of media company will come and approach and say, like, can you attend our TV show, whichever show. So usually the show is live. So sometimes I attend together with some doctors, specialists. So there are different topics. Sometimes for example, talk about orthopedic bone health. Then I was like, then I have to discuss with the doctor. So what do we want to talk about bone health, from medical perspective, from a nutrition perspective? Yeah. So so this is something that is also part of my job scope. Yeah. So being a dietitian in the hospital, basically, I cover basically most of the clinical and of course also community work, I would say, and being in the media. So of course, that what always come into my mind is what keeps me going, right? So what keeps you going as in your career? So as you can see, like my first year of the job, I already like, as a fresh grad, I was thrown into the world, and then to go to the company and give a lot of experience, business development talks and everything to actually sell an idea to the senior management. So then after that, then my it's kind of like comfort, and then when I changed department to clinical, then it starts to create a lot of fear, as in like how competent am I in terms of clinical competencies, in terms of like seeing very sick patients, how am I doing, right? So that's the time where I spend a lot of time reading on my own, just to make sure that I don't mess up things. So that of course I also keep in touch with many of my friends working in other private hospital, working in the clinical department, especially those working in the intensive unit dietitians, to actually exchange resources to see how I can improve myself better in terms of my competencies in clinical. Then of course juggling between patients and of course the marketing and also business development. I always have a thought of like asking myself, so why do I want to become a dietitian, right? So moving on, how do I proceed next? After I think second year of my job, I already gone through all these things that I told you. So it's like the second year, I already do all these things, going to the media, going to the TV. This all happened in my second year of my job already. So that I keep on doing the same thing, the third year, the fourth year. So I would say that third year, second year, third year, fourth year are all quite similar, just to do things with more repetition, more experience. So here comes where I was trying to think that, so how do I proceed further, right? Then by that time, I remember that time I already managed to hire 2 more dietitians under my team. So 3 of us actually managed the department, and then so my role kind of changed a little bit in terms of like leading the juniors, managing the department. Then from there, I always ask this question, like, what keeps me going? At the end of the day, it's not about whether my department earns how much money, or whether how well my junior dietitians perform, or how actually how well I did in the interview or something. But it's still about the relationship, when I in contact with patients. So I still feel the biggest satisfaction for me is to see my patients, the people that I talk to, actually improve their health. Actually, they see outcome, right? So this make me wonder, like, whenever I do one time off wellness program, one time off corporate cooking class, corporate program, it's usually one time, so it's like a one whole day, sometimes wellness program, sometimes like a session, different sessions, right? So it's very rarely I can get a chance to do like a more long-term program. There is 1 or 2 program is long-term that I follow up them with like a few times in a month, for 2 months, to see whether they improve, then do a screening, right? So it makes me think that I don't get that satisfaction when I don't see people actually benefited. Not benefit as in they try to that they feel happy about session, but benefited as in they really improve their health. But in clinical, it's very straightforward, as in the next day the patients in the hospital, you can see their blood test result, right? Then you can see they already improve from there. So yeah, so here comes where I start to like look for more opportunity and see like, do I want to go for like change the path, or how how do I want to move forward, right? So yeah, so here comes a chance where there's like a vacancy in Naluri. But I think back in that time, actually end of 2018, I already got the offer. Back in that time, that there wasn't any pandemic, nobody know about digital, and it was like a very, very new company with I think we're just like less than 20 people in the company. Everything was new. The idea is new. The app is new. So it's basically like I feel like an entrepreneurship. So yeah. So when I got the offer, I actually thought a lot in terms of whether I want to change the career or not. and there was a lot of different voices from your family and friends. People were trying to say, why do you want to change your, suddenly go for this this path, right? You're already in the hospital so many years, and then you're already are doing a good job, right? Do you want to, like, just gain more experience in the hospital? And right, of course, different people will tell different things. Then I try to think back, right? So what's the pros and cons? So of course, the main pros of being a digital dietitian, as what I've been told, of course, it's the flexibility of how you want to manage your time, because it's not time bound, as in you have to work in the hospital at 8:30, you have to clock into the hospital. If not, you will get penalized, for being late. And then sharp 6 p.m. only you can go back, no matter if today you are busy or not busy, you still have to be there 8:30 to 6. And of course, so then Saturday, Sunday I have to be on call. Sometimes there's ICU, calls and everything. Yeah. So then being in a comfort zone is another thing, right? So like I say, the 3 years I've been repeatedly doing the same thing, just gaining more exposure. So yeah, then I start to think about, what's more that I can do, what I can learn further, so that I can prepare in the future, prepare better future, right? So yeah, so then of course career progress. So then I came across about digital. It's very new. So when I think about it, what actually, Azran, that time Azran is my boss. So Azran, I interviewed me and actually, tried to sell me his brilliant idea about digital health, telehealth. Back at that time, nobody actually know about it. So basically, I was very impressed. What he told me that actually caught my attention was that his aim is actually to create to provide healthcare services to the wider public at a more affordable rate. At the same time, what they are looking at is clinical significance outcome. So it's something very different from many companies where I went for interview. People will tell me, like what's more important is profit, right? It's money. Of course, yes, but actually, nobody will tell me that, what's more important is patients' clinical significance outcome. Of course, I was very skeptical about that. I was like, yeah, okay. So bosses will only tell you about money, right? So yeah, so then I decided to step out of my comfort zone, and then I think, okay, then I resigned from clinical job end of 2018. So I joined fresh early 2019 as a full-time dietitian in Naluri. So yeah, so this is what so this is what I'm imagining. Okay, there's a digital dietitian, right? So I don't need to go to hospital anymore. I just carry my laptop everywhere I want to go. There's not compulsory for you to go to office. Whenever there's meeting, then you go to office, right? So it's like a freedom. I'm really free from the confined environment in the hospital. Yeah. So yeah, so then during my first week of my job in Naluri, right? It's what totally opposite of what I expected. Of course, yes, being a dietitian, as like seeing patients, everything, like coaching the patients is one part of my job. But I would say 80% of my job back at that time, 2019, was to do brainstorming and problem solving together with the bigger team. Bigger team, when I mean bigger team, is not a very big team. It's actually about 20 people, but that 20 people comprised of people from all different disciplines. Of course, there's like bosses, like our founders, and to actually, that time founders was the two founders was very actively looking for business. So they have to pitch ideas to different companies to sell idea of Naluri, how Naluri actually help people. So because we are not a B2C company, we're a mainly B2B company, as in we sell our service to another company. So we don't sell our service to an end user like you and I know. Yes, of course, yes, but that's minority. So as how we start our business is actually very B2B. So which means our bosses have to go to different corporate companies to pitch the idea, to promote that actually, yes, Naluri actually can help your staff. So basically, I have to sometimes have to follow them to go to the company actually to pitch the idea, to show that, yes, we have healthcare professionals in our team. We are legit, right? Yeah. So, and of course, the brainstorming involves a lot of parties from that time most crucial skeleton to form the company was, of course, the engineers. The engineers, the software developers to actually design the app, design the web coaching platform for us to use. Then we have data, just one data guy to actually consolidate all the data that we have. Then we have basically coaches, like one dietitian, and also I think 4 to 5 clinical psychologists. As you know, Naluri is a mental and physical health focus. So we started off with very strong foundation with a group of very experienced clinical psychologists as well. So like me being like, of course, yes, I'm from healthcare background, from hospital. Yes, somehow I know how healthcare works, right? But I've never worked very closely with psychologists before. So like a day-to-day brainstorming is already very brain draining, as I don't understand what they speak, their term, how engineers speak in terms of what the words that they use, you know, and then how data actually use the data in the company, do the graph and everything, do the research, or so yeah, then here comes they need our input as from healthcare perspective. How do we actually want the app to be, to benefit the client and to benefit the coach, right, from both ends. At the same time, we also need them to help us to develop the features that we want. But if they don't understand what we want, then it's very difficult, right? So a lot of endless discussions that we have most of the time when I started, right? Because back at that time, with clients was not many, right? So a lot of preparation work. So yeah, so just a little bit about what we do in Alumni, right? As you can see, we this is what we do in Naluri now, right? Naluri is keep on changing. So this is what we do in Naluri now. It's basically we want to provide a solution for corporate employees, mainly to raise awareness, to provide raising awareness is one thing, to provide resources for employees to engage on certain health topics. At the same time, we do screening, measure their employees' health. So we go to the company, we will do blood tests, we do on-site health screening for the staff. So from the health screening, then we will select those who are high risk, and then from there we will tell the management and say, so these are people that are high risk. Do you want to actually enroll them in a program with us? So then in the program we provide physical and mental health intervention. So basically to help them either improve their physical health, improve their mental health as overall. Then we do continuous monitoring from there. So most of the program is actually about 4 months. Yeah. So of course there are some companies who don't enroll program with us, then they will mainly be in that raising awareness population, right? So this type of company, we will do a design wellness website for them. So we will put in pre-existing content, webinar, everything for them to actually have their staff to have access. Of course, it's more self-oriented, more how to say, more reactive, more proactive from their staff, but less engaging from our side. So yeah, so we also have psychologists and dietitians care line, where psychologist care line is 24-hour. So that there are different counselor standby on the care line that people can call in. For dietitian care line, it's working hour. And we also have virtual exercise classes. We have fitness coaches. We also have face-to-face therapy. So it's like face-to-face consultation from a psychologist, from dietitian, different coaches, right? But before pandemic, it was more, the take-up rate was higher, but now we mostly having clients requesting for remote therapy. So it's like a video call more frequently. Yeah. So yeah, so this is basically everything that we cover, we provide for corporate companies, right? So Naluri coaching team, we have coaches from different disciplines. Of course, in healthcare, we are very familiar with doctors, we have dietitians, we have clinical psychologists. Then at the same time, we also have physiotherapists. It's under fitness coaches. They work together. And then from there, we also have financial advisor and executive coaches. So these are the two supporting coaches. Why we have them, at the very beginning, is because when we do initially we do everything very mental focused. Then after we realize that mental is related to physical, then we cannot neglect the physical part. Then we make it very equal, as in the psychologists and the physical health coaches like dietitians, fitness coaches, and pharmacists, doctors, we all work very, very closely, and then we see the relationship very closely, right? Then at the same time, we realize that a lot of stress, a lot of struggles, emotional stress, and physical stress as well, are actually financial related, coming from their financial struggles. Then we start to incorporate financial advisor in the team as well. Then now we also have executive coaches. Some of them, they struggle because of work related stuff, right? Yeah, so then we have professional coaches from executive team to actually guide them. So yeah, of course, you see the main coach at the middle, right? So initially psychologist was the main coach, but now we have different programs with different coaches as the main coach. So it depends on what programs the clients choose, right? Some it can be just executive focus, some it's like dietitian focus. Yeah. So how do we do our day-to-day so-called coaching, right? So why do we call it a coaching as a coach? As what we believe, for someone to achieve their health goal, it's more, it's 3.5 times more likely for them to achieve the goal with the help of someone guiding them. Guiding them doesn't mean that I give you everything, give you the solution, everything, but it's being there as a supporter sometimes, as sometimes to empower you to make the change. So yeah, so these are the tools that all the coaches use in Naluri. We have health coaching, which is like the something like a chatting feature that you can actually chat the coaches. You can also have video call with the coaches in the app. Then we have daily modules or lessons. We have more than 100 lessons in the app that actually help us. Why do we need that lessons, right? So imagine just now I told you like our clients wasn't many, at the starting as the first year of our company. Then until now, we already have more than 15,000 of clients in using Naluri. So with just one coach talking to one client, it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen, the vision of like scaling up healthcare. Similarly, like you go to a hospital, you see doctors, then one day as a dietitian, I know you probably if you intern in the hospital before, one day of a dietitian, how many patients you can see? Maximum 7 patients. You are already very exhausted. So yeah, if seven patients 1 month, how many patients can you see? So how do you actually generate more revenue from there? How do you actually reach out to more publics, more Malaysians, more people who needs help from dietitian or from healthcare professionals? So daily modules is something that actually will help us to be more efficient. So these are some of the different topics. There are diet modules, there are exercise, self-care, and groundwork, understanding yourself module. So this module will help us to something that gives some homework for the clients to do. Then after you spend your own time to do your homework, then after that we come back and discuss, right? Instead of me spending my time to teach you the same thing all over again. Yeah, so that kind of improve our efficiency as a coach. So yeah. So this is a very important thing. Then, of course, we have food journal. So this different journaling help to do the same purpose. So food journal is something that it's like an Instagram. So the clients will upload a photo, then dietitian will give a rating and give a comment from there. So this something what interested me a lot is that before this, as I mentioned, when I see patients in hospital that tell me everything, that after they run back, I do not know what happened to them. If they don't come back, I don't know whether they improve or not, whether they understand or not. So with food journal, I feel like I'm always beside them, after they, you teach them one thing, two things, and after that they go back and then apply it on their day-to-day food they eat. Then from there you guide them every day, every single meal. So the success rate, of course, is much more higher compared to just you see them one-off in the clinic, right? So this is what I truly believe in, shaping a behavior change. So thought journal is something, it's more for the psychologists to actually use them. It's like a diary. So it's like you writing down your emotions, everything for, to better promote self-care. So those who are in the psychology, a few understand this very well. So connected weighing scale. So this is mainly for monitoring, not just weighing scale. Now clients can actually upload their glucometer entry, their blood pressure entries, their steps. So this is monitoring tool. So we want to see whether they, throughout the whole program, do they actually improve, or how is the progress that we can monitor them. So planner is something like a challenge for them to actually do a homework that's assigned from us, apart from the rest of this. For example, they want them to eat slowly, they want them to do certain take medication. So planner will help you to actually create a challenge. So if they've done that, they can tick as they have done it. So over time, you can monitor how many times they have done a certain behavior. Because what we believe, a shaping behavior is not easy. Nothing will just change overnight. After you see a dietitian, nothing will change, unless you take action, unless you really, start to think about how to make change, right? So yeah, so this is how we call it a Naluri coaching framework. So if you're familiar with trans theoretical model, you somehow understand how we think about this, as in, of course, at the beginning, and is Naluri onboarding. Onboarding is to understand them, as to bring them on board in the platform. Then after that, we assess to discover. Assess is to do assessment. So no matter which healthcare professional you are, we do assessment. So assessment includes things that you really need from them for you to come up with a better plan. So some modules is under assessment as well. So yeah. So after you assess the information that you need, then you lay out your plan. So these are the plans. The plans doesn't come from one way, it doesn't come from the coach. Plans come out from both parties. We work together and see, so what worked best for you as a start, right? So what do you think this worked best for you? Then after that, upskill knowledge. So when you come up with plans, there are different plans. Some plans is about motivation. Some plans is about really lack of knowledge, so that they do not know how to do, right? So if this is about lacking of knowledge, then of course upskill knowledge is very important, as in because they do not know how to do, so we actually teach them, give them the right knowledge to do the behavior that should be doing. Then resilient boosting is something that is very, very important in the whole behavior formation process, as we want them to, after they know about the knowledge, they start doing how to sustain it, how to withstand the pressure of the challenge of setbacks. Setbacks is very normal. When you no matter what you want to do, you want to learn to swing, or you want to learn to cycle. It's not going to be smooth all the way, your journey. It's going to be ups and downs, and there will be failure, there will be challenges. So the mindset of how they cope with the challenges, how they stand up again and then proceed further, so this is what we call the mindset of resilience, and our team of psychologists are very, very, very focused on building resilience in our clients. Then from there, of course, if they have successfully done a certain behavior that they wanted to, then inspire accountability is important for the person to actually be a change agent, be proud of them, and then think about what was the success component that have brought them to so far to now, and then how do they repeat that success, and how do they influence the people around them. Yeah, so this is the whole idea about how we actually do coaching in Alumni. Yep. So later on, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Probably some of things you might feel overwhelmed, some of things that are not familiar, right? Yeah, feel free to ask me later. So yeah, so when I talk about being a digital dietitian, as what I imagine is like a very relaxed form of like working on your own, like a content creator, whatever you like to work, right? But in reality, digital dietitian means not just dietetics. You have to think about digital part. So it's like a digital and dietetics. If you just work as a dietitian in that company, you will just forever, you are just within your own scope, right? You have to go step out your comfort zone and understand what is the digital part of the dietetics, part of the service that actually can help us and help the business and help the clients. So as a digital dietitians, we have to actually understand at least basic what is artificial intelligence, how AI help our app to do better predictions. Then in the long run, what does that mean? What does that affect our productivity? Then product designs and product development, how engineers actually build a product, how they do coding, everything. We don't understand what they are typing, right? But actually how in their mind, how do they process all these things? How they think about one idea and after that come out with a function, that a tools, a features in the app that can be used. So how is their mind map, you know? So why do you need to understand this? Because if you don't understand, you will propose certain idea that is very not realistic. Then you cannot communicate with the engineer, right? So at the same time, we have to be very data driven. So as data driven means we don't speak like I think I want to do this. I feel that we are not doing very well. I feel that we are, you know, there's nothing that's feeling or whatever, you know. Everything must be data driven, as in, you know, speak on top of data. So we rely heavily on, you know, so how many clients in a month, you know, how they actually respond, how good are you, you know, all this, everything is stored in the data, our data store. Everyone can get the access, and it depends on how you want to utilize the data to do different analysis to see if you want to build certain features, what kind of data you need in order to do what kind of experiment, so that you can see, oh, by doing this methods, it's better than that method because the data say so, not because I say so, right? So yeah, so these are the different mindset that you have to you know, change our mindset more into more quantitative rather than qualitative, right? So clinical significant outcomes is always on top of all the coaches' mind, as in we have to make sure that whatever that we do, no matter what design or what AI you want to do, it's actually to ensure that our clients have health outcome and it's clinically significant. So because at the end of the day of all the programs, whatever that we do, we have to actually show to the customer, the company management, that, you know, by enrolling to our program, your staff actually improve their health by how many percent, all data driven, right? So then clients' behavior, we have been always thinking about how digital and how dietetics, how we actually use digital and dietetics to actually change clients' behavior or modify clients' behavior or respond to clients' behavior. Behavior means their motivation to change. Behavior means their interest to use the app, their engagement in the app. So, you know, how is the gamification features in the app helps them, you know, how our approach in coaching help them. So it's about both digital and dietetics. So one thing in Naluri that we are very, how to say, we focus a lot is about Agile. So it's something that I learned as well as you know, before I joined Naluri, I didn't know about this at all. So what's Agile, right? If you're in the product or in the engineering world, you understand this very well. Agile is it's a concept that basically how they build a certain feature. So, you know, like technology is never ending or ever changing every day. So there's no start or there's no endpoint, basically. So how do you, let's say you want to build an aeroplane. So probably 10 years later, you build aeroplane, but you cannot just wait for the aeroplane to come, you know, like for the 10 years, you don't do anything, right? Then no outcome. So what we want to do is that, let's say before you go to the aeroplane, what is the function of the aeroplane? Aeroplane is to like bring people, right, to transport people. So probably the first year you just build 2 wheels, you know, 2 wheels like a bicycle. Then your wheels can already, you know, the bicycle can already bring people, can already travel, make people travel. So you already achieve some, you know, phase 1, you know, like sprint 1. So this mindset is for you to produce output constantly, so that in the end you achieve a bigger output. Yeah. So every single small sprint, because sprint like a 1 cycle is a sprint, we have to actually plan what we want to do. And then after that, we design what we want to do. Then after that, we develop the whole thing, the thing that we want. Then, of course, we test it to see whether it functions or not. Then, okay, then we deploy. Deploy means we give it live for people to do. And then after people do already, then we need review. We need feedback and see whether how well we are doing. Then after that, we keep on repeating the cycle again. So the next sprint, then we reflect back what happened for the past sprint, right? What we have done right, what we have done wrong. So this mindset, it's in us, as in adapted from engineering product management model, but it's very helpful for our day-to-day job as well, as in we go by sprint. So every week we do some sort of like a sprint planning across different departments. We'll think about this week what we want to do, right? So that end of the week we will do a retro and reflect. So yeah, Yeah, of course, being agile also means you have to try and error, try different things. So being usually go to the corporate company and do the real cooking demo, now I have to try to do virtual cooking demo, how to do a virtual yet live cooking demo at the same time, how to be interactive with the clients at home, they are in the kitchen, you know, how do I do it together with them so that they can interact with me. If I do a shooting, then how do I do it? So these are the things like I'm constantly learning every single day as well. Then I do we do agile as in like, so after I've done one thing, then we reflect back and see what have done, what have I done right and wrong, and how do I improve. So of course, live webinar is something that that I do very frequently with different topics. Of course, across different coaches, we will do a webinar as well. So now with pandemic, we are no longer able to go to the company, so we will mostly do online. Then of course, live webinar is one thing. Live webinar, it needs skills for you to be very spontaneous, and then when people ask you questions, you have to answer Q&A on the spot. But webinar recording and video recording is another different scenario where you can repeat. If let's say you make mistake, you can do it all over again. But the challenges is that you have to actually make sure that your content, everything, it's well captured within the time frame, so that it doesn't, when people keep on repeating the video, it's like a video, it's not something that is live, right? Yeah, so it all requires different skills. Yeah. So yeah, so far, as I mentioned, when I joined Naluri, I was the only one dietitian in the team, and after 2 years, then we expanded the team until now. I think in Malaysia we have about 6 of us. So this was the time when I still can go to the office. Now I can't go to the office quite some time already. We all work very remotely, fully remotely. Yeah. So and yes, we also expanded to Southeast Asia, many countries. Now Naluri serves clients from not just Malaysia, but also Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand. Of course, for the dietitian team, we also have dietitians from all over the countries. Now we have more than 11 dietitians in our team. Yeah. So yeah, so when we have more people in the team, of course, communications definitely has changed, and I believe communication has changed since pandemic as well. But we are lucky that we have already adapted somehow before pandemic because of the virtual working style, right? So usually in the hospital, you can just immediately discuss the case with your doctors, with your nurses. But what happened after that, when you no longer have this chance, right? Then of course we have internal communication channel that we keep on discuss, basically through chats. Of course, we have weekly meetings, weekly discussion, weekly case studies to discuss about our clients. At the same time, communication not just among the coaches, but communication across different other teams. Like when I told you, like when I was alone in the team, 20 people, you can just immediately talk to the engineer, immediately talk to the the data guy. Then now it's like data team already 20 people, tech team already 20 people. How do you want to make sure that different departments communicate smoothly? It's another skill that I believe with the help of pandemic, it also helped a lot for people to adapt this faster. Similarly, like how you guys have been adapting your virtual learning as well. How do you communicate with your friends, your lecturers, right? Yeah, so we have to change, we have to adapt to the changes accordingly. So yeah, so how has time management changed? Like I say, it was time bound, 8:30 to 6 when I was in the hospital. So no matter you like it or not, you have to be there. When bosses see you in there, meaning you are working, right? But now nobody sees you. Nobody knows whether you are working or not. So this actually challenged a lot of your self-disciplines. Then you start to think about, then what if I don't have things to do? Then what if I overdo, right? So this is always a struggle, among, I believe, everybody who work remotely, as in what is considered overwork, what is considered underwork, right? And how do you keep the team in the loop? So this is a skill that I think is very important in the future when digital career, it's become more and more common. We have to learn to have a structure, a virtual structure. No matter there is a lecturer or there's a boss in front of you to be there, 8:30 to start your work, you have to have your own discipline to say what time you want to start your work, what time you want to end your work. Why I say so, because I've gone through this in the virtual world in 3 years, almost 3 years now. I understand this. If you don't have this, very easily you just get distracted. You just, the whole day you don't know what you are doing, and then you lose your interest of all the things that you do. So you need to set your time, set your place correctly, where you want to sit, usually what time you eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You need to have the structure. Similarly, as imagine how you will do back in school, how you will do back in your, like me back in my hospital days, right? So this is very, very important. Yeah. So again, what keeps you going, what keeps me going, right? No matter what has changed and what things have become different, what keeps me going to me is still the same, from patients health outcome. So whenever I see people that I engage with that improve their outcome, they tell me that they improve. This is my biggest motivation, internal motivation that keeps me going. So yeah, so no matter where I work, as long as I can still do this, to me it's good enough, right? So yeah, so as a student, right, as a fresh grad, now you want to actually go for a company interview, you want to hunt for a job. So what's more important? What is the most important thing in this pandemic and now with this situation? And of course, in the career as a dietitian, career as healthcare is not as, the job opportunity is not as many as compared to other, probably engineer. If you're an engineer, there are more job opportunities for you, right? So yeah, so but again, I've seen many resumes. I've interviewed many people. What I can say is that what I hope to see and in juniors is that not just talking about what is your strength, what's your weaknesses, of course, yes lah. But think about what you offer, as in you need to understand what is your skill set that can fit into the company. At the same time, how keen are you? So comparing so many candidates, right? At the first glance, you will be able to know whether this candidate is keen or not keen, right? By them sharing with you how they understand that your company works. How curious are they, wanting to know how your company is going to work. At the same time, how their skill set can fit into it. If skill set might be very, very similar, as we all graduated from the same place, everything are similarly fresh, but how willing are you to learn more? And of course, how did you solve problem? Don't just talk about the perfect things. Talk about things that when you screw up, when you face challenges, how do you solve it? Because we want to see how you help. How is the problem solving skill, so that there's always going to be problem. It's not just smooth, and we hire people to solve problem, right? Yeah. So to wrap things out, I just want to say that changes, it's everywhere, it's every day. Every day is a change. No matter how the environment has changed, especially these 2 years, try to be, just be brave, be very, very open-minded, and be a change agent. Because similarly, like me, every day I'm learning new things as well, right? So yeah, thank you so much. I think that's all that I want to share. Welcome, students, for your questions. Okay, I saw a question. Yep. Is there a difference in terms of job scope in public and a private hospital? You mean like being a dietitian, I assume? So yeah, there is a difference. Of course, the job scope as seeing the patients, inpatient, outpatient, everything the same. But I would say the biggest difference is that in public hospital, patients will come to you. Your waiting list is super long. So every day you go to the hospital, just endless patients for you to see. You just do your job, right? But private hospital, every day your struggle is to get more patient across all the private hospital group that we have, previously in all the dietitians. No matter which states you are from, we have the same struggle. We don't have enough referrals. So every day we are out there to create value. We want to be visible and show to, promote our service, so that we can increase our revenue. Because it's very straightforward. The reality is that when patients have to pay, they will think twice, right? Not like the public hospital. So this is a true reality for you to actually prove that your service value, so that only people will willing to pay, right? So I would say this is the main difference. Yeah.
Thank you, Jasmine, for the question, and of course to you, Seow, for the time and everything that you have done for today's session. I think we are just about like 2-3 minutes before we end the session today. Why don't we take a group photo together? Can everyone just, all right. Can everyone just, put your camera on for a little bit? And then we can take a group photo. Seow, do you mind taking the slides down so that I can have a bigger screen?
Let me,
okay. All right, yes.